Yes, Soma.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's what I go by now.
Great. Okay. Well, great to have your
So
story, and thanks very much.
I promised Paul the stories about my mother, that I'd give you a picture of her.
Ah,
My
yeah,
mother, oh, around age 60, and she lived to be 98.
great. Lovely. Well,
Oh,
on with your story. Thanks very much.
yeah. Oh, to have a mother is a dear thing. And although we've been given this life by her and carried 9 precious months inside her very body, how many of us can say, I rescued my mother from a fate worse than I rescued her? It was the very thing she needed, like giving a full breast to a babe. My mother was 98, going on 99 in just 2 months, when my next older brother, Billy, and I got the call from our siblings, Betty and Peter, who had never left our hometown of Charlottesville, Virginia, like Billy and I, who had moved 2,000 miles away west. Mom's dying. You'd better come quick if you want to see her one last time. So I hopped on a plane as soon as I could, and I must tell you, it was a bit strange driving through the hometown. It hadn't changed so much in the 25 years of my absence. My sister Betty is 7 years older, and she had a spare bedroom for me to use for the 5 days leading up to our mother's passing. And what a fine 5 days it was. It was late in October, the time in America when we celebrate All Hallows Eve, a time of honoring and remembering our ancestors who've passed on. And yet, I've watched it become a farce and a denial of the part death plays, a significant part in all our lives. My mom, bless her soul, had lost much of her mind to dementia. And though she was in diapers and drugged with painkillers because of a broken hip that could no longer be mended due to her frail state, there were moments when I would catch a brightness in her eye as she looked at me. And I was told by a wise friend to talk normally to her as if I knew she could understand me, even though she couldn't answer back. Well, after 4 days of singing to her, swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry you home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry you home. Oh, I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry you home. Well, the band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. And crying and telling stories to her and to each other, I spoke to her like this. I said, Mom, do you remember when you gave birth to your very first babe, our brother, Chuck, 70 years ago? You'd never done it before, and you just had to let your body show you the way. Well, now you're in a very similar situation. You've never done this before, but now you get to give birth to yourself, Ma. Right out of the top of your head. You get to leave this poor old aching body behind and find out where you want to go next. Don't worry, Mom. We'll be fine. And we'll think of you with love in our hearts for all you've given us all your life. She'd given us life, enthusiasm for living. She loved the out of doors and the newness of an adventure in the wilds of a sandy beach in North Carolina with 5 children and a crippled husband in tow. None of us had done it before either. Cooking our own meals over an open fire, a canopy of stars overhead, and the sound of the surf putting us to sleep at night. She was a beauty, my mum, and quite a catch for a young doctor during World War II. She was 27 years old and never married. She'd been studying to earn her own medical degree in 1940. One of only 2 women in the class. When she'd met my father, who'd had a polio as a boy, she fell in love with his spirit and his happy smile in spite of his crippled legs. Helping others was her call in life, and being truthful to the changing times, whatever they brought, and a willingness to meet it head on with everything she had. It may be true that each child considers himself or herself mother's favorite. The fact that I was born just as winter was turning towards spring, and at the time when my father was away, proving himself worthy of a brand new job, being the dean of a medical school at age 40 in Charlottesville, Virginia. Although I was the 4th child to sally forth from her womb, I was the one saddled with his name. They said it happened because of the pride and the pining of my mother's heart in this absence of her true love. But I have always thought it made me special in the family's eyes, and particularly in hers. I could do no wrong. When it came to proving myself worthy of her love and affection and her pioneering spirit, I was determined to show the way. So perhaps it was my mother who rescued me from a boring existence somewhere in an office, pushing papers, afraid of offending the boss. No, I've got to be free, to be out in front with my mother's spirit by my side, urging me, compelling me to go the distance, to make my mark and let it stand. So the next day, before my brother Billy and I went in to visit her, normally at 9 a.m. in the morning, we got the call. She'd passed away in the night, in her own way, in the privacy of her own. It was the end of an era for our family. And I felt I'd played my part in rescuing my mum from a fate worse than death.